Okay, so we're going to talk about data management today. Data management basically, refers to managing data. So when we talk about managing data, we are talking about dealing with bulk data, right? So in case you have, let's say, 1,000 accounts or contacts that you want to insert into the system at once, or if you have to take out the data from the system, if you want to export the data from the system, or maybe if you want to update some existing data into the system, if you want to delete multiple records at one time, right? So far whatever we have seen that we go to that tab and then we click on new and we enter one record at a time, and then we can edit or update it, or we can delete one single record. So dealing with a single record is fine. That is what we understand so far. In today's session, we are going to discuss how do we deal with multiple records in one go, right? If I have to create multiple records or update them or delete, how do I do those things, right? So what all things we can do in our data management? We'll talk about import of data. Import of data means if the data is not in Salesforce, it's outside Salesforce, how do you import it within Salesforce? How do you export the data that you have already in Salesforce? If you want to take a backup of it, or if you just want to take a copy of it outside Salesforce, that is export. Update, if you have existing records and if you want to update the multiple records at one go. Delete multiple records, right? So deleting a single record is pretty simple. You go to that record, click on the delete button at the top, the record will get deleted, right? How do we delete multiple records? And then transfer of record. Now, what is this transfer of record? Transfer of record is basically transferring it from one owner to the other owner. I think by now we all are clear with the owner concept. In Salesforce, every record has an owner. You might have noticed that every account that you're creating, or every contact that you create, everything has an owner, right? So this transfer of records means changing it from one owner to the other owner, right? So transferring from one owner to the other owner, right? So these are a few operations which we are actually going to talk about in data management. So let's start with the import thing. So for doing import, there are a few options or tools which are available to us, right? The first option is called Data Import Wizard, which is there in our web-based application, the one that we log into in our setup menu. So we have a setup menu, there we have this option called Data Import Wizard, okay? The other option that we have, it is again available under the setup menu, which is Import Wizard for accounts and contacts. So one is Data Import Wizard, a common thing for all the objects. Then there is one special import wizard for account and contact. This is one thing. Then we have a special import wizard for leads. We have one for solutions. We have import wizard for custom objects. Custom objects are the objects that you have created in Salesforce. You know what is a custom object by now, right? The objects that we create are custom objects. The ones which have been provided by Salesforce are the standard objects, right? And one more option available, or one more tool rather, which is available for our data import is Data Loader. Now Data Loader is a separate application. Okay, it's not a part of the menu. All these things, all these options which you see here are the part of the setup menu. So these are options in the setup menu. This is something which is a completely different application, a standalone application which you have to install on your system. Data Loader is something that you have to download and install on your system if you want to use it. Okay, so we'll see how it works and all. So no matter which option or which tool you are using, the logic is pretty simple. If you have to import data, what we have to do? first of all we'll have to put the data into a CSV format. Okay, comma delimited format. You have to put the data in that format, save the file, and go to one of these tools and then try to import. Okay, so pretty simple thing. The point is that if you have, let's say, 1000 accounts, those 1000 accounts you will put in some tabular format or on a spreadsheet, rather on an Excel spreadsheet or somewhere. You just have to go and save that in CSV format and go to one of these tools available for importing and then call that file. That's it. Once you call the file, after calling the file, you just have to go and map the fields. Map the fields means map the fields of your CSV file with the fields on the salesforce.com, right? That which fields data will go into which salesforce.com field, that you have to map and your job will be done. Fine, it's very simple. So first thing you have to do is create file, save as CSV, go to setup data management, choose the appropriate tool, choose the tool which you want to use, and then map the file fields and start import. Okay, so let's go and do it, do one small example to understand this. Right. So let's see an example of import. So here I have a file. I've created a dummy file with a few accounts, and this is what we are going to import. Right. So we have just 4 records here. 4 dummy records we have created. You can have 1000, 10,000, 50,000 records, whatever number you have. You can have all those records in the spreadsheet the way I have put. Right. Now once you have all the records on the spreadsheet, the next step that you have to do is go and save it in CSV format. So go to this file, save as, give a file name and save it as CSV comma delimited format. So this should be the format of the file. This, there are 2 more CSV options which are available. Macintosh, MS-DOS, don't get into that. We want to save it in CSV comma delimited file. Alright, save it in this format. I've already saved it, so will not need to do anything else. Saved, yes. So my file is ready. Okay. Now the next thing that we have to do is we just have to go and choose any of those tools for importing, and then we have to start the import process. That is what we have to do. The file is done. Now go to your setup. Under data management we have the import options. So let's use this import account and contacts. Fine. For importing the accounts, we want to import accounts, right? We had 4 accounts there. Now just click on import accounts and contacts. You will be asked to start the import wizard. Do that. Click on next here. Okay, you come to the screen where it asks you to browse the file. So you choose the file. Wherever you have saved it, I saved it in desktop. So here is the file. You can skip everything else as of now. Gradually you will understand these things. Just choose the file. Click on next. Not chosen a file. All right. Choose the file, click on next, and then comes the stage where we have to map the fields. Okay. So since this import wizard is for account and contact, you saw the name of the import wizard is import accounts and contacts, right? So this wizard can be used for importing accounts as well as contacts. We just have account information. We do not have contact information. See, on this step, it's asking us to map the contact fields. We do not have any contact fields. So we will simply go to next. Here again, it's asking us to map contact phone fields and address fields. Contacts we do not have in the file, so we can skip this step as well. It has by default mapped the phone and fax to contact phone and fax, but since I do not have any contacts, I will not map it to the contacts. Go to next. Yeah, step 5 talks about mapping account fields. So we will go and map the account fields. Account name will map with the company. Some of the fields it will automatically map. Salesforce automatically maps wherever it sees the same kind of name like website and web address. It has automatically mapped. Okay. Now see if you need to map any other field. So left hand side you have your salesforce.com fields, and here in the drop down you have the fields from the CSV file. You just have to make sure that you map all the fields from your CSV here, and then just click on next. Okay, let me map the phone and fax, phone number, fax number. Click on next. So this way, once you have mapped all the fields, you should go to next. And on step 7, it will give you a message saying that all the fields have been mapped, or if there are some fields which have not been mapped, it will give you that warning or message. Then you click on next, and finally it will give you a small warning. What is this warning? It says if you continue with the import, all records will be imported with you as the record owner, right? Since we have not specified a record owner for each of the records in the file, it says that if we continue further from here, it will make us as the record owner of all the files, all the records, all the accounts, right? So that's fine, no problem in that. We can start the import process here. That's it. So this is how simple it is. Have all the data into the CSV file, go to the import wizard, start it, choose the file, map the fields, and then come and say import now. The moment you start it here, it will say okay, it has been queued, and you will be notified once your import is done. And it says it will take approximately a minute to complete this. That's fine. Click on finish. Now in a minute's time this will be imported. If you want, you can go and see it in the accounts. So go to Salesforce accounts. Yeah, these are the records which we created just now. This Dell, Deloitte. See the created date, 4th of September. Got this? So this is the import process. There is one more import process that we will see through data loader, but I'll come to that a little later. So any data you want to import, you can import that using this import wizard. Okay. However, import wizards are available only for these objects: account, contact, lead, solution, custom objects. So you do not have any import wizard for opportunity, you do not have any import wizard for cases, you do not have an import wizard for campaigns. So those are the objects for which we do not have an import wizard, right? Now monitoring imports. Monitoring imports means if you have started an import process, then how do you monitor that? Monitoring in terms of whether that has been completed or that is pending and all that stuff. How do we monitor that? Administrators can check the import queue to view details about an import. Alright. You can cancel an organization import. So if you have started an import process, you also have that option of cancelling it. Okay. But you have to make sure before the import process starts, you have to cancel it. Okay. Import details are removed from the queue 3 days after completion. So once your import is done, there is a log which stays there in the import details in the system, and it stays there for 3 days. Okay. After 3 days, those are automatically removed. Where do you go and check the import details? You have to go to setup, monitoring, imports. Select the file name of the import file to see the import queue detail page for that file. If you want to cancel an import and the import has not started processing, click delete. Right? So if you want to cancel the import, so till that time it has not started processing, till that time you can go and delete it. Okay? If it has started, then you cannot. Then it will get completed. You cannot cancel an import after it has started processing. So once it has started processing, then you cannot do anything. Then the only best option you will have is let the file get imported and then go and delete the records. Get into the system and delete the records one by one or in bulk. Fine. So that's about monitoring imports. Now getting into the second thing, which is data export. So we understand data import. Now let's get into the data export part. So you can export all of your organization's data into a set of comma separated values, CSV files. So again, the same thing, the way we imported data from CSV, data export can also be done only into CSV file. So data export is basically when you have data inside Salesforce and you want to take a copy of it outside it, right? You want to take some data outside Salesforce, you will use data export option, and data export also allows you to take out the data into CSV format only. So Salesforce in a way recognizes only CSV. Okay, it imports the data into CSV, from CSV, and it exports the data into a CSV format. You can generate backup files of your data on a weekly or monthly basis depending on your edition, right? So you can generate a backup file of your data on a weekly or monthly basis depending on your edition, which edition you have. Based on that, how frequently you can take the backup, that depends on the edition. So for doing this export, this very simple option, you go to setup, data management, data export, select export now or schedule export. Export now option, so you have two options there available, export now or schedule. Export now option prepares your files for export immediately. So export now is something which will help you do an immediate export. This option is only available if no earlier export is pending. So this option can be done only if you do not have any pending export. Anything is not, any of the exports is not there in the queue. Okay. The second option that you have is schedule export. Schedule export means scheduling an export, frequency or something. So you define a frequency and you want to do that export on that defined frequency. Okay. So that is what scheduling export means. So here it says schedule export option allows you to schedule the export process for weekly or monthly intervals. Okay. So this allows you to export the data for weekly or monthly intervals. Got this thing clear on it? All right. Now let's go and see an example of export. So we have to go to setup data management, right? For most of the data management related thing, you have to go to setup data management. So we'll go to setup data management, data export, setup. Here we have data management. Under data management, we have data export. Click on this. And then as I told you, you have export now and you have schedule export, all right? Select the one that you want to do. If you want to do an export immediately, then you click here. If you want to schedule an export, you can click on schedule export. Let's click on schedule export. So when you click on schedule export, there are two things that you have to do. One, you have to define the frequency. Don't get into these things again. For now, you will gradually start understanding all those things. You have to define a frequency for the export, and you have to define which objects you want to export. In Salesforce, there are so many objects. You did not know, right? There are so many objects which are there in Salesforce. You see it here. How many objects they already have in the Salesforce? You never created all these things. These are all which are by default. Out of this, I think project object is one custom object that we have created. And that too is somewhere here. Do you see project object?
All the way at the end?
Yeah, this is where it is. So this is a custom object, and how do we understand that? Because there is a double underscore C under it. Any custom object in Salesforce will have a double underscore C at the end. Fine. So this is something which you will understand while we are doing the programming part of it. You will understand these things, but for your understanding, this is the only custom object that we have created. All these objects are already there in Salesforce. So what we see here in the tabs, we always thought that there are only these many objects. There are so many of them. See, there is a object for profile. I mean, this is just for your understanding, has got nothing to do with our export process. So this is just for your understanding, since this big list of objects has come up. So I just wanted to share a few things with you. Let's say this profile. See, user roles, profiles, everything as an object. The users, all the users that you create, that actually gets into a separate object. So there are so many of them. Fiscal year settings, that also is an object, right? So there are a lot of them. Now, which object do you want to export? You don't use all of them. These are all there in the system for people to use it, but we don't use all of them. So you don't need to get confused again by all these objects that we have to use all of them or something like that. Not required. But Salesforce, from their side, they have created these things. See, what we see here in the front end is just what we need to use. But at the back end, they have created a lot of objects which need to maintain all this data. So in our last few sessions, we were talking about the profiles, permission sets, and the roles, and the hierarchy, organization by default. So to maintain all these things, they need additional objects, right? So that sort of things, those objects are available here. So we do have that option of exporting data from any of the objects. So let's focus on the objects that we are familiar with. Let's say contact. If you want to export all the contacts, or if you want to export the leads or accounts, whichever object you want to export, you have to define that. And if it is a scheduled export, then you have to define the frequency that you want to do it on daily, on a monthly basis is what is available on the developer edition. So define the frequency. When do you want to start the schedule? Till when you want to continue? Let's say you want to start it on 4th of September, continue till 31st December. That's fine. And do you have a preferred time to start the export schedule? So that is it. Fine. If it's an export now option, then you will not have to define the frequency. You just have to select which object you want to export and it will immediately export the data for you. Got it? So now let me go back to this export now. Let's not do the schedule export. So now I'll just I'll tell you a little about what happens once your export process has started here. Once you start the export process, it should ideally give you a CSV file, right? That is what you are expecting. But it does not give you the CSV file immediately. You don't get a CSV file immediately. The moment you start the export process, let's see what happens. Let me start an export process here. And will not include all, we will just say account and say start export. Okay, now it will not give you the CSV file, it will rather give you this option, or sorry, send you this message saying that your export has been queued. You will receive an email notification when it is completed. Okay, so once your export is complete, then you will receive an email. In that email, you will have a link. That link will help you download the CSV file. Got that? So this is for security purpose. They do not allow you to download the CSV file directly. They rather send you a link, and that link will have that CSV file to download. I mean, link will not have an attachment. Sorry, that email will not have an attachment. The email will just have a link. You have to click on that link to download the file. Okay. Moreover, the download URL will also be available on this page. Once your export is ready to download, the link will also be available here on this page, and that will be available here for 48 hours. Right. So you can download that file anytime within 48 hours. If you do not download the file within 48 hours, that link will be gone. See, the export files are also available on this page for 48 hours. Once the export is ready to download, the link is available here for 48 hours, after which time they will be deleted. So this is also for the security reason. Export is what? A copy of your company's valuable information or data. So Salesforce does not want to keep it open for a longer time. You have to download it within 48 hours. If you don't download, that will be deleted. Then you might need to start one more export process. So that is how it is. Clear? So that's about our export. Let's go to the next thing. Mass transfer of records. So mass transfer of records is what? Transferring data from one owner to the other owner. That is what we talked about, right? So there's a very simple option for mass transfer. You just have to go to setup, data management, mass transfer. Okay. It's pretty simple. You just have to go to setup. Data management, and mass transfer of records. Transfer accounts. Let's say you want to transfer accounts. Okay. Select transfer from. So transfer from should be a user. So for doing mass transfer, you should have at least 2 users in your system. Right now I just have one, Jeet Singh. This is the only user I have, right? So if you want to do the transfer, I would recommend, once you are trying to do it, create one more user and then transfer the data from one user to the other user. Okay. So just select a user, from user, select a 2 user, and then once you have selected a from and to user, then click on, if you want to put some filter criteria that, to search the records which need to be transferred, let's say all the records from a particular country or a city, You can put that filter and then click on find. Yeah. So if you put some filter, based on that filter you will get the results here. Select the records. You also have the option of selecting the records individually and then click on transfer. So if you have a transfer from user and a transfer to user, if you have a second user here, you could have easily transferred all the records to the other user. Okay. Why would we need to transfer the records in bulk? If someone is leaving the company, if someone is leaving one project and moving to the other project, let's say Hemant used to deal with some data and he is moving into some other project. All his accounts need to be transferred to Chetan. So in that case, what we will do, we'll do a mass transfer. Select all the records of Hemant, transfer it to Chetan. Right. So you, instead of doing it one by one, you will just come here, select all the records of Hemant, give it to Chetan, transfer. Got it? It's a very simple option. The other option that we are going to talk about is even simpler, that is mass delete of records. Right? Now, what is this mass delete of record? Mass delete means deleting records in bulk. Right? So there you don't have to do anything, you just have to select a few records and then you just have to click on a delete button. So the easiest thing in this world is delete, right? So just go to your setup, data management, then go to mass delete records. Select which records you want to delete. Okay, now small thing before we get into the mass delete. Why would we delete data? What can be the situations where we will delete data? Any ideas? We have some data into Salesforce, why would we delete it? No? If you have duplicate data.
Can be wrong data.
Sorry, it can be?
It can be anything wrong data entered wrongly.
Yeah.
Information.
Yeah, incorrect information. See, basically what happens is that's also correct. So it can be wrong or incorrect information, but most of the times rather than deleting the incorrect information, we work on correcting the information. If you have duplicate data, if you have incorrect information, that is also correct to some extent. And if you have very old data which you do not want in the system because your system memory is all being occupied by the old data. Let's say I've been using Salesforce for 5 years, and this 5 years all sort of data is there into the system and you are running short of the storage space. Now you want to delete the data which you earlier created. So delete in terms of remove that from Salesforce. Okay. Now, a small concept that is something which is going to be helpful for you. Whatever be the case, even if my data is not useful, or it is duplicate, or it is wrong, or it is old, we usually do not delete data completely. Okay, so this is a small concept that I'm talking. Again, it has got nothing to do with the delete process here, but there is just a small thing that I wanted to share for your practical work experience in case you get into any job or anywhere. Never delete the data. At the max what you should do is you should archive the data. Archive data means take a backup, take an export of the data and then delete from Salesforce, which means in case you need the data after some time, you should at least have the CSV file. So export process and taking a backup should be done before you delete the data. This is something which is recommended, highly recommended, right? No matter how useless the data is, you never know, you might need that data. Okay. Sometimes it happens that when you have already deleted the data, you go back to your manager and you say that okay fine, I have deleted all the duplicate data, and the manager says that I want to see what duplicate data you have deleted. Was that actually duplicate? and you do not have anything, right, to say. So data should, we should take a backup of the data before we delete it. So this is what I would recommend. Now, whatever be the case, even if it is duplicate, even if it is wrong information, old information, take a CSV file, store it within your system, then delete it from Salesforce, because we will have a storage limit on Salesforce, right? So when we have a storage limit in Salesforce, sometimes we will run short of it. At that point of time, we'll need to delete the data. All right. So let's get into mass delete of accounts. The other thing that you always have to understand while deleting the data is your relationship concept. Did I tell you that relationship when you delete, there was one relationship, master detail, right? When the parent is deleted, child records are also deleted. So you have to be a little careful on that also. If you're deleting the parent record, you need to understand what all other data records or what all other tables will be impacted by what you are doing, right? So if you're deleting the accounts, will the contacts also be deleted or not? That you have to take into consideration. Fine. So that is the thing. So just go here to this mass delete option. It will give you these things. So from Salesforce side, they give you all these warnings and all these review messages earlier, asking you to see what all things will be deleted, all contacts. So if you're deleting accounts, all contacts associated to this account plus all related contact data will also be deleted. So you just have to be sure that do you want to delete the contacts actually or not, right? And then decide based on that. So same option, click on search. If you, before deleting, if you want to put some filter to the data that you want to delete, for example, I was telling you that old data we want to delete. So if you want to delete all the data which was created let's say before 2010, if you have something like this, that any record which was created before 2010, then you can delete. So you can search those records and then select all of them and go ahead and delete them. Okay. Now when you are trying to delete some records, you have two options. Either you permanently delete it or you just delete it like this. Okay. So if you normally delete it, if you don't do it a permanent delete, then it goes to a recycle bin. Salesforce also has a recycle bin, because a lot of times we can delete the records by mistake. So for that reason, Salesforce provides us with a recycle bin. Okay. So this recycle bin is used for storing all the data which is deleted. But if you click on this permanently delete, then the data will not move to recycle bin. It will be permanently deleted. Okay. So again, this is not recommended. Don't get into this, because in case after deleting the data you realize that you have deleted something by mistake, you should at least have a chance to go back and retrieve it. So let's go and delete all the data that we created today. This one and this one. These 4 accounts we created today. Select 4 of them and say delete. So these 4 records will be deleted. Now if I want to restore them, because I did not do a permanent delete, that must have gone to the recycle bin. So just go to the home page. On the home page you have a recycle bin. Click on it. You will see all your deleted data appears here, and it stays here for almost 15 days. Okay. So you always have that option of retrieving the data in 15 days. If you don't retrieve the data in 15 days, then it will be gone. Select all this and say undelete. Fine. So that is how we perform a mass delete operation. Okay. So things to remember for delete is Don't do a permanent delete, and before you do a delete, always try to take a backup. So that is what Salesforce also recommends. I will show you. If you go to setup, see, we strongly recommend you run a report to archive your data before you continue. Report or take a data export, whatever is convenient for you. It is also strongly advised to request and receive a weekly export of your data before running mass delete, right? So run a report and then do an export. So that is it. So we do not delete any data, even if it's useless data. We do not delete it, right? Okay, so this part is done. Now there's just one more slide that we are going to talk today. Mass delete of data we have done. Data storage usage. Okay, storage usage is what we have an option under data management which allows us to see the storage usage of our organization. That whatever storage was allowed by Salesforce, since we are talking on the data management, the other thing that we have to deal with is the storage usage. How much storage was allowed by Salesforce, how much of that you have utilized, what percentage is available, that is the storage usage, right? So you just have to go to setup, data management, and then click on storage usage. Okay. So this is where you have to go and check the storage usage of your org. So here you have 5 MB available for developer edition. I think we talked about this. Developer edition has a limitation with how much data you can store. It allows you only 5 MB. Out of 5 MB we have already utilized 282 KB, which is 6%. So 94% still can be utilized, right? It also gives you complete details of which object, how many records, what is the count, what is the percentage. So out of the entire storage usage, 22% is being occupied by opportunities. So opportunities alone, occupy 22%, which is big, right? So that is, and then you have your file storage. So it's not just the data storage that it is being talked about. File storage. File storage is the storage space allowed by Salesforce for storing your documents and other files. Okay. In case you want to store some files, PDFs, Excel spreadsheets on the on the cloud, which needs to be accessed by different people. Let's say you have the agreements with the clients which need to be uploaded on Salesforce so that customer support team can actually have a look into that. So those you will upload. For that you have separate storage capacity, 20 MB on a developer edition. So how much of data storage has been used, how much of file storage has been used? We have not uploaded any of the files so far. That is the reason why it shows 0%. And who all are the top users by data storage? Who all are the top users? Which users are consuming maximum data storage and which users are consuming maximum file storage? That will be available here, right? And then we just go to this screen. So this basically talks about how much storage and file storage is allowed by Salesforce depending on your edition, right? So how much space you will have, that depends on your edition. Okay. So Salesforce edition, if you are using Contact Manager, then you get 1 GB per organization or 20 MB per user for data storage. File storage 11 GB per organization or 612 MB per user. Got it? So same way for unlimited edition, you will get 1 GB per org or 120 MB per user, whichever is greater, right? So out of this or this, whichever is greater. Let's say performance edition, 1 GB per org or 120 MB per user, right? So if you have 20 users, then it will be 20 into 120. So that is bigger than 1 GB, right? So whichever is greater, you will get that storage space. Got it? So that is it. 1 GB storage is also, 1 GB is minimum that you will get for any org to store data, and 1 GB is pretty good storage space. You can store a lot of data into that, right? And for file storage, you get 11 GB. Fine. So depending on your edition, you get the storage space and all. Storage is divided into two categories: data storage and file storage. We already talked about that part. All right. Clear on this?